Hello, and thank you so much for being with us on this Friday, and happy Friday. I'm meteorologist Rich Marriott, and this is Weather Out West, where we showcase what's happening weather-wise across the western U.S. You'll find coverage from the Pacific Northwest to the Mountain West and California to Arizona in the Southwest. First, let's go to Spokane, where they have a weather impact day. Critical fire danger covers most of central and eastern Washington Friday afternoon and evening. Let's get an update from Thomas Patrick.
I'm meteorologist Thomas Patrick in Spokane, Washington. Today is a weather impact alert day for the inland Northwest and eastern Washington due to high fire danger conditions. It's a particularly dry, hot, and windy day for Spokane, and that has elevated fire danger to critical levels today. Red flag warnings are in effect. So today is just one of those summer days where the high winds can make the fire conditions quite aggressive across the region here. And it's really due to the wind speeds, especially today, and they'll stay a little bit breezy for tomorrow. So that's where we lead today with red flag warnings for all of central, southern, eastern Washington, and some areas of North Idaho also included in this red flag warning. This to highlight that the fire danger conditions are at those critical levels. It is because of these wind speeds upwards of 35 miles per hour for today. So while this is a bit more of a passive weather impact, it's not going to create any damage in its own right, those wind speeds. It's the winds that could fan the flames of any active or new wildfires is where that caution certainly lies for this afternoon. The time frame for this is 2 to 10 o'clock, so we match that on our weather impact alert day. As always, respect burn bans across the region. A lot of these burn bans, including campfires and bonfires, are already outright banned through the summer season. It's just doubly important on a day like today. Of course, high fire danger is a result of the low humidity and the high winds in combination. Doesn't necessarily mean that new wildfires will start, though it is always possible, especially the faster those wind speeds go. But any new fires or active fires tend to burn a bit more aggressively. And we'll be monitoring one like the Hope Fire in Stevens County, northeastern Washington, which is one of the larger fires across the region, as to any kind of additional fire behavior. So we'll look at the wind speeds just outright, and today it's going to be more central Washington that gets the stronger speeds overall today. And on Saturday, it's eastern Washington and the Palouse and southeastern Washington, wind speeds 15 to 25 miles per hour, a little bit lower, but probably just enough to stave away any additional red flag warnings for the first half of the weekend. So wind speeds a little lower, temperatures a little lower, and humidity perhaps a little bit higher should allow us to only have one day of red flag warnings. Here's the storm system we're watching. It's actually crawling through British Columbia right now, and it's going to be aiming right at Washington State. The cloud cover you see is basically right where the cold front is. That's where the wind energy will lie. That's why our wind speeds will be as fast as they're forecasted to be for this afternoon. But on our modeling, notice how there is not a lick of rainfall at all when this storm system passes. So unfortunately, no rain in the forecast at all, maybe just a blip over some of the mountains, but even that is a pretty minor chance at best. So unfortunately, the drought situation is likely to just worsen in the weeks and months for the rest of the summer season. Latest update from this week, now over 50% of Washington State into severe drought conditions or worse, with the Palouse in southeastern Washington getting the worst of it. In Spokane, it has only rained once in the last 2 months. It was June 22nd was the last time it rained. It was only about 1/10 of an inch on that day. None so far this July. High temperature today will be 91 degrees, which is about 5 degrees above average. So temperature-wise, this isn't bad for July standards. And the weekend ahead will also be actually pretty comfortable in the mid-80s for both days. But the windy conditions will persist for today and tomorrow, more so for today. So again, a weather impact alert day for the Spokane area due to the heightened fire danger.
And next, we're going to go to Boise, where it's going to be hot and hazy to wrap up the week. Fire danger remains high. Red flag warnings are out for portions of the area. Let's check in with Hector Mendoza to see what's happening today.
Hello, my name is Hector Mendoza, forecasting out of Boise, Idaho, and these are the three things that we're really paying attention to as we get closer into the weekend and continue on to the beginning of next week as we wrap up this work week here on this Friday with heat and haze that continues on with some of the wildfire smoke trickling in from the west. Then as we get into Saturday and Sunday, we see a system come in that drops our temperatures just a bit each and every day for the weekend. But even with the cooler temperatures and maybe some breezy conditions that come along, we continue with dry weather as we have fire danger that remains high into the next couple of days. So looking at what we're wrapping up the temperatures here on into Friday, upper 90s here in the Treasure Valley, upper 80s out in the mountains, and we see those low 90s there in Jerome and Twin Falls, and many other spots here in the Magic Valley will stay pretty warm as we head on into Friday. But then again, we talk about those hazy conditions, and that's pretty much what we've been talking about the past couple of days, as Sun Valley will continue to see some of those very hazy conditions there to wake up into the next couple mornings. But then we'll start to see a little less of that through the rest of this afternoon, at least in portions of the mountains. But as we take a look at what we're forecasting in terms of air quality for Friday and possibly into Saturday, we stay between that green and yellow category there, from good to moderate, so impacting just a bit. So those folks that are very sensitive to the air particulates and some of the smoke that have some minor health conditions, that is something to keep in mind, as you might want to limit your time outdoors if you do want to protect yourself from some of the smoke that we're going to be seeing in some of the skies. But other than that, in many other mountain spots, the only thing that we'll notice is maybe some hazy skies. A little bit more of that continues on through Friday, but we start to see a bit of some relief from that as we head on into Saturday and into Sunday, as we'll have just a little bit less of that as we head on into the weekend. So we could see a bit of a relief there from not just the heat, but as well as from some of the smoke. But again, after this ridge of high pressure has made its way on out, as we head on into the weekend, we see a system that comes down from the north that continues to make its way into our area, and that's what's going to bring along maybe some breezier conditions that'll start to pick up into Saturday morning through Saturday afternoon, and then those cooler conditions will continue there into Sunday, and that looks to stick around into the upper 80s Monday into Tuesday before we start to see those temperatures slowly ramp up. But again, taking a look at what we're expecting there for the winds there on Saturday, it picks up into the afternoon, seeing breezier conditions, dies down just a bit into Sunday morning, and then some spots up into the mountains, possibly even into the Magic Valley. You'll see those breezy conditions return as we head on into Sunday afternoon and through at least the evening. But as we look at the 7-day forecast out in some of those mountain areas, we see those temperatures down into the low 70s by Monday. Lots of cloud cover. Could possibly see some showers come along with that in some of our northern zones that could see some of that moisture trickle on in. But other than that, we're going to see temperatures pretty cool, pretty comfortable there for Monday and Tuesday, and back up into the low 80s there as we get on towards the end of the following week. As we look at the 7-day forecast here for Twin Falls, temperatures don't really change too much day to day as we head on into Monday, staying into the low 90s, then dropping slightly below average there for Tuesday and Wednesday, before climbing back up to seasonable territory there as we head on into Thursday with a lot more sunshine. Then here at the 7-day forecast for Boise and many spots in the Treasure Valley, we'll see those temperatures go from the upper 90s down to the low 90s there for Sunday, as we look at lots of sunshine there coming along. Maybe some conditions in terms of those winds start to pick up a bit. Then we'll see those clouds on the increase as another system comes in and makes its way through. So we'll see those temperatures stick around the upper 80s into the middle of the week, and then we'll slowly start to see those temperatures rise back up from the low 90s into the upper 90s to wrap up the following work week, and we're expecting to see that sunshine return as well for Thursday and Friday.
Still ahead, right after the break, we're taking to both Denver and Phoenix and check on the weekend forecast. Well, Denver is next, where they're expecting a hot weekend in the 90s with isolated afternoon storms. Let's check in with Corey Reppenhagen to see what's happening.
Hey, it's meteorologist Corey Reppenhagen from the 9 News Weather Impact Team in Denver, Colorado, looking at the forecast where generally in our state we're dealing with high heat and wildfire conditions. We have some big wildfires burning, particularly out on the western slope, and the wind gusts are going to be there once again as we go through the day, Friday and perhaps Saturday as well, but not too bad. Generally staying in the 10 to 20 mile per hour range. Overnight, not too bad. Friday afternoon, there's a little concern with some 10 to 25 mile per hour gusts, maybe even some 30 mile per hour gusts. Not going to affect the aerial firefight, but that could increase some of the fire spread, including out here this new fire. in between Parachute and Rifle in Garfield County. That is something we could see some flaring of the fires and also some spread. Here's where they kind of are situated on the western slope of Colorado. From the South Rim fire to the Turner Gulch fire is now over 15,000 acres. That would make it the biggest fire in Colorado in 5 years since the Cameron Peak fire in 2020. The new fire is still worth watching here. That popped up on Thursday afternoon in between Parachute and Rifle, so they're calling that the Cottonwood Fire. And as far as the smoke forecast, we're still seeing some of that smoke coming to the Front Range, but generally most of it is coming from the 60,000 acre White Sage Fire in northern Arizona. That's where we're seeing the bulk of this smoke, but we'll have at least light smoke. You'll see the haze across the Denver area over the next couple of days. The air quality alert, however, is for ozone pollution, which is a summertime pollution that we have here in the Denver area, and out there on the western slope, that is for the wildfire smoke. And here's the temperature forecast as we get through the day. On Friday, high heat once again. We're into the 90s, middle 90s and low 90s, and it's going to stay that way in Denver for the next 7 days.
With several wildfires actively burning across Colorado's western slope and air quality alerts in effect, some of us, not surprising, might be a little concerned about the air we breathe. We've been seeing these graphics, these maps showing smoke from the wildfires moving into our area. So if you're concerned about your health when it comes to wildfire smoke, because wildfire smoke does contain wood smoke particles, there's a few things you can do just to make that air inside your home a little cleaner to breathe. One of them is to invest in a mechanical air filter. We're talking about filters that actually can filter out those wood smoke particles, making the air inside your home cleaner to breathe. You can also purchase an air cleaner or an air purifier. There is a robust body of evidence that shows using one of these air purifiers or air cleaners inside your home greatly improves your health. And third, if you're really concerned about that haze, about the smoke, if the smoke gets thick outside your home, you can also create a clean room inside your home. This is basically a zone, maybe a bedroom or an interior room that you can focus all your air purifying resources in, so that when it gets really smoky outside, you can head inside into that zone and breathe a little bit easier.
Well, let's check out the weekend in Phoenix. There is some good news. The heat backs off this weekend. At least there's no 110-degree plus high temperatures in the forecast. Let's check in with Ginger Jeffries. She has more.
I'm meteorologist Ginger Jeffries with a look at your weather out west. And after a fairly uneventful monsoon week, we certainly got some storms and some higher elevations, but it underperformed for the valley. So technically, we did not receive any rainfall this week from Sky Harbor, even though many of our valley cities picked up anywhere from 4/100ths of an inch to 8/100ths of an inch. So again, an underperforming monsoon, but that's what happens with these cells. They can build up and be very powerful, but they can also dissipate very rapidly. They are fragile, yet powerful and just amazingly beautiful. Look at this. I mean, the amount of sunset pictures that we got from our 12 News weather watchers, all because we had the clouds overhead, not so much rain, but all the rich hues illuminated due to the moisture that was in the sky. But now we're going to turn the page on that. We begin to dry out. It's still a little unsettled. So we have some chances for some higher elevation storms. They're going to be very pocketed, very isolated, and I think the more global impact will be a dry and warmer weather pattern in the weekend. So your fabulous Friday in Flagstaff looks like about 79 degrees. We've got right at 100 degrees in Safford and Tucson. Sunny skies for Yuma at 106, 107 in Parker. Today at Havasu, oh, does it get better than this? 107 degrees. Perfect lake weather. 91 today in Sedona and about 106 in Phoenix. So what's happening? Now we've got high pressure building in. We'll see a little bit of wind. You see these arrows right here? That indicates that high pressure is moving in. High pressure a kinder, gentler weather pattern. So it doesn't come in at the surface like a low and knock everything out of its way, resulting in very gusty conditions. Instead, we'll get a little breeze here, about 10 to 15 miles an hour, and then numbers are going to respond. You can see we should get up to about 107 by Saturday, but then we're coming down slightly again Sunday and Monday. This is all because we've got another weak monsoon headed our direction. Now, is it going to be a big player? No, it doesn't look like that. It is going to allow us to again dry out and then get a little muggy on Monday before we again start to dry out by the middle part of next week. So what does that mean for the temperatures? Well, anytime we're talking about dry air, that usually means we're talking about warm air. Thankfully, it looks like our numbers are going to be really on par for where we're supposed to be this time of the year, about 107. I mean, this is traditionally the hottest month of the year, so we really want to be on the lookout for those 115s and up. But thankfully, it doesn't look like we're going to get there, and it also doesn't look like we've got much monsoon moisture in the mix for the next 6 to 10 days. So, yep, drying out, but all in all, not that torrid as far as our temperatures go. Now, the monsoon meter, our gauge for where we could see storms and the severity of those storms, 2s and 3s on the board. I really don't expect any of it to make it to the valley, but it is going to be kind of circling the wagons, let's say, with some pop-up showers today in northern Arizona. As you can see, satellite picture really showing that. I mean, these are very scattered at best, but they're still powerful, so they're on my radar. As I track it for you, Futurecast, it doesn't even really show much measurable rainfall, just some baby pockets here and there, with most of the bulk of the impact really being to the east of us. But again, it's unstable, so we'll continue to update you throughout the day on 12 News and 12 Plus. The bottom line, normal heat for your Friday as daytime highs push up to about 106 degrees, dropping down to 88 with unsettled conditions. And then looking ahead, notice we are seeing a little monsoon moisture in the higher elevations today and possibly early part of next week. Temperature-wise, Flagstaff is cruising in the 70s. For the valley, again, in July, to not have 110 on the board, this is considered a winning forecast, my friends.
And after the break, we continue our tour of summer weather with Sacramento and San Diego. Oh, welcome back, and thanks for sticking with us. We'll head now to California, to Sacramento. It's going to be a little bit warmer there, but still normal high temperatures heading into the weekend. And it does look like there's going to be a cool down next week. Let's get more.
I'm meteorologist Monica Woods. A lot to get to in our northern and central California forecast. Regional headlines: morning fog, afternoon sun for the coast. For the valley, we're going from summer temperatures to spring temperatures. For the foothills, sunny skies and some haze in the Sierra. I want to show you what it looked like in the Delta area this morning. Some low clouds, that stratus kind of streaming its way through, right through the Delta here. You can see just a little hint of that moving in from the coast towards the valley. Now, that is going to be a minor part of the forecast, but it gives us some hints of those temperatures to come. Looking at some other pictures around the region, that fog really thick in San Mateo County. This is over towards the coast near Pacifica, near the Bay Area. Sutter County, clear skies over all that agricultural land. Placer County, beautiful conditions. Bit of haze in Nevada County as we look at some of those hazy conditions. Lots of fires burning in the northern part of the state. So Shasta County dealing with a lot of smoke right now, unfortunately, kind of sucked in with some of the hazy conditions. Some of that trying to stream its way southward through the foothills. But we have that nice westerly flow, at least from the Pacific, keeping it out of the valley. Now, in terms of our fire situation, there's been a lot of reports about critical staffing shortages, particularly for the Sacramento office. I did happen to speak with the National Weather Service, and these are the top key takeaways. 24-hour operation will continue, providing forecast and warning coordination, as well as wildfire operations. They will have 2 incident meteorologists on staff, the top priority being those spot forecasts. And also, they're going to continue those coordinating efforts, maintaining contact with responding agencies and working with other National Weather Service offices. Here's Courtney Carpenter with more.
So the Weather Service has a mutual aid system in place. We have 10 offices in California, so those offices can provide backup support. If we're really busy and we need extra bodies, we've got people out on fires and there's a lot going on, we can get support from those other offices. They're able to spin up our systems automatically, and there would be no gap in any service or coverage, and we'd have the extra support we need.
And we are heading into that peak time of wildfires. A little bit of an increase here throughout the Sierra. And you can see there is a lot of available fuel up in the high country as we look out to a beautiful and calm Lake Tahoe. A bit of an onshore flow continues into our weekend forecast. Slight chance of thunderstorms for parts of the Sierra, mainly south of Yosemite. Into the weekend outlook, we'll see some of that kind of migrate its way northward deeper into the forecast. In the meantime, Friday outlook, highs in the 80s up top for the Sierra, 80s and 90s down low throughout the foothills. South of that region, 92 for Yosemite. Fresno, we're up to 100. We've got Shaver Lake at 78 degrees and then Merced at 96. Our central coast forecast in the Monterey Bay Peninsula, low 60s all the way down the coast. San Luis Obispo, 75 as we move inland. Paso Robles at 89 degrees. Moving up towards the coastal area of the bay, we're going to see morning fog, afternoon sunshine. Some of that marine stratus trying to press its way through the delta of the Sacramento and San Joaquin Delta. Lots of fog along the northwest coast, highs only in the 50s for Eureka. Inland areas, we are back to 100 for Redding, and for the capital region, highs in the low to mid 90s. Some of us getting into the upper 90s there. Our 5-day forecast for the mountains, we keep it dry over the weekend. Chance of thunderstorms returns next week, near 90 for the Sierra foothills. We're in the 70s, though, as we head into the middle of next week for the coast. A mix of sun and clouds with highs in the 60s for the next 5 days. A look at our extended forecast for the valley. Our warmest days in the next couple of days will be Friday and Saturday, dropping to the upper 80s on Sunday, low 80s on Monday and Tuesday. That'll feel more spring-like for us. And then we're back to some warmer weather by the end of the week.
And now we're heading south in California to San Diego, where monsoonal moisture drifts in, and that may lead to a couple of showers and storms over the mountains. Let's check in with Vanessa Paz for more.
Well, happy Friday from San Diego, California. I'm CBS 8 meteorologist Vanessa Paz taking a look at today's forecast. We had some pretty wacky weather to wrap up the work week here in Southern California, depending on where you were hanging out. Some residents saw lightning strikes, especially confined to those mountain neighborhoods. Today will sort of be like a rinse and repeat. We have a very slim chance of seeing any activity when it comes to the coast in the inland valleys, but we do have the chance of seeing some lightning, even a pop-up thunderstorm or two still for the mountain areas as a surge of monsoonal moisture continues to filter in. For the desert areas, daytime highs this afternoon will top out in the low hundreds. As we take a look at what we're dealing with, we still have this storm system. It will continue to track north, and that will continue to enhance that monsoonal flow, especially for those counties that sit north of San Diego County. So that will continue to usher in those winds, that shift of winds from east to west over the next couple of days until things start to subside towards the latter part of the weekend. We did see some rain for some areas across our county. It looks like Vulcan Mountain, which is close to Julian, a pretty popular neighborhood in our mountain neighborhoods, saw close to ½ an inch of rain over the past 24 hours. Meanwhile, some of our most populated neighborhoods, including Kearney Mesa, Carlsbad, as Oceanside, saw minimal numbers, a few hundredths of an inch, so a drop here and there. As we fast forward our rainfall futurecast, notice again, highlighted in the light gray color is San Diego County. Most of the instability, all the activity will just be to our north in San Bernardino as well as Riverside counties in terms of thunderstorms, all due to that area of low pressure that's going to continue to track northward. We do have the shot of seeing some light precipitation looking ahead to Saturday morning. We dry out Saturday afternoon. We have another push of that marine layer, potentially bringing in cloudy, overcast skies pretty much every morning all the way through next week. As we take a look, again, I'm going to fast forward to our weather headlines, a recap of what I just mentioned. Still sticky across the region today, and that chance for thunderstorms will be impacting mainly the mountain areas, but some of that instability could spill into the valleys as well as the coastal areas. Overall, looking ahead to next week, we're talking about pleasant and seasonal conditions. When we talk about daytime highs, we're actually going to be tracking below seasonal, meaning cooler than where we should be for this time of the year. For tomorrow's highs, we'll be in the mid to low 70s. Again, there are a lot of activities happening in San Diego. People are vacationing, and we have everything going on from the Pride Parade to the second week of Over the Line to the Del Mar races over at the racetrack. Mid 80s for tomorrow afternoon in Ramona as well as Julian, and we'll be sitting in the low hundreds for spots like Borrego Springs when it comes to our desert neighborhoods. Over the next 7 days along the coastal areas, minimal daily changes all the way through next week. And remember, these temperatures are cooler than where we should be. We'll get closer to seasonal looking ahead to the end of next week. For the inland valleys, we will be spoiled with really nice conditions. I mean, we are talking about highs in the mid to upper 70s, low 80s. Again, this is why we live and pay so much to live in San Diego. When it comes to those overnight lows, we will remain fairly mild, especially when it comes to those sundown hours, dropping down to the low 60s, but nothing too bad or too cool when it comes to the nights and the early mornings. For the mountain areas, we will shoot up to the mid 80s this weekend, but notice how the overnight lows will be tracking rather cool, especially once we get towards Tuesday and Wednesday. The reason for that, we'll have those clearer conditions, and anytime we have clear nights, that heat that we encounter during the day is able to escape quicker into the atmosphere. For the desert areas, we were looking at daytime highs shooting in the low hundreds, and we'll actually stay in that direction all the way through the middle of the week, and then we see a very small and slow climb, a little warmer near 110 by the time we get to Friday.
And coming up next, we'll head to the Pacific Northwest, where temperatures will be much cooler after a spike in the temperatures midweek, right after the break. Well, last Wednesday, Puget Sound had its hottest temperatures so far this year, but the cooling is underway as the ocean air conditioning has turned back on with those onshore winds. Let's check in with one of our most handsome meteorologists for an update. Hi, meteorologist Rich Marriott, and as promised, we did cool off from those hot temperatures on Wednesday yesterday. In fact, most places got into the upper 70s to near 80 degrees north of Seattle, and from Seattle southward, mostly low to mid 80s, though Olympia was the hot spot. They hit 88 degrees, which was the warmest we saw at any of the official stations. And so definitely that cool down started yesterday. More of that headed away as we head towards today because our onshore winds have increased and then bringing in some marine air, turning on our ocean air conditioning once again. You see it's moved into the Bellingham area. They started with sun earlier today, but the clouds have moved in, and you see there in Everett, see a hint of that marine deck out there, but you can also see we still have some of that light wildfire smoke that's been around the area. That, with the onshore winds, is actually going to start to clear out today, and we should get back to blue skies that we normally expect. Around the Tacoma area, still seeing a little bit of sunshine sneaking through, but you can definitely see those low clouds trying to work their way in. They will be burning off later on this morning, but when they do that, we're going to be looking at some high clouds filtering the sun, so overall a partly sunny day, unless you're headed out to the coast where they've got clouds and fog out there at Westport and pretty much up and down the coast, and they'll stay pretty socked in today. You might see a few sun breaks as we head towards late this afternoon, but that's pretty much all we can muster today. Take a look at that 7-day first alert forecast. You can see we've got cooler temperatures over the weekend. In fact, Saturday and Sunday we're going to be running a little bit below the normal highs around western Washington. Should be 78 degrees out of the airport, so we're running 2 to 4 degrees below that, so kind of balancing it out. But as we head towards the middle part of the week, we do warm back up again, but the good news is at this point we don't see any signs of 90-degree readings around Puget Sound for at least the next week to 10 days. Checking the smoke models this morning, so you still have that smoke haze over us this morning, but you put that in motion, those onshore winds push that out of western Washington. In fact, even pushes it out of eastern Washington, except in the lee of some of the fires up there. Those places will continue to see a little bit of smoke haze, but elsewhere things looking pretty good. And with that, of course, our air quality is going to be improving. We've got good air quality just about everywhere today, except for a couple of stations. And then as we head towards tomorrow, it looks like good air quality across almost all of western Washington through the day on Saturday and actually on into Sunday and the start of next week. Our satellite image there does show the fact that we've got this big area of high pressure out here. We have systems moving over the top of that, moving down through and just brushing by us as they move through southern British Columbia. We have one moving through today. That's turned on our onshore winds and bringing in those low clouds. When we do burn those off today, we're going to have some high clouds left over from the system, kind of filtering the sunshine. So overall, we're looking at a partly sunny day, but the sun should be increasing by late afternoon or evening, so it should be improving as you get into your evening hours. You might be thinking of going to the beaches over the weekend, and they're in pretty good shape. Puget Sound as warm as it's probably going to get for the year, pushing that 60-degree mark. But the lakes, those are looking good. They're mostly in the mid to upper 70s, so pretty comfortable for Western Washington. And of course, still chilly in the rivers unless you get down pretty close to Puget Sound itself. Looking at our forecast highs for today, we're going to be looking for mostly upper 60s to near 70 degrees north of Seattle. You get down Seattle southward, high temperatures only in the low to mid 70s. And then over the weekend, we stay pretty much in that same temperature range, it looks like. Up in the mountains, they're looking for sunshine, temperatures into the 60s today and pretty much over the weekend as well. Eastern Washington is going to be running, as you can see on the east slopes of the Cascades, mostly in the 80s to near 90 degrees, it looks like. And we stay pretty much in that pattern, it looks like, as we get into the weekend and start off next week. But then as we head on towards Monday, we'll start to push back up towards 80. It looks like for Tuesday and Wednesday, we're going to be seeing mostly sunny skies, upper 70s and low to mid 80s, which is pretty comfortable. We do start to cool down as we head towards Thursday with highs in the 70s to near 80 degrees. And then as we head on towards the following weekend, it looks like we stay in the very comfortable upper 70s and low 80s. Yeah, he was pretty good. Let's check out Portland now. They also had hot temperatures last week, and they're seeing a cool down, which should give them a pleasant weekend, but there are still concerns about wildfires to the east and smoke haze. Let's check in with Chris McGinnis right now for the latest.
Hello, I'm meteorologist Chris McGinnis. Our Rose City forecast looks gorgeous over the next couple of days. From downtown Portland looking east towards, well, we could see the sunrise a little while ago. Now the sun's getting a little higher. You also notice some haze on the horizon. A couple things. One, obviously, we had a fire that popped up on the east slopes of Mount Hood yesterday evening. More on that in a second. But it does provide for, again, a little bit of wildfire haze as we look to the eastern sky. The prevailing wind should keep most of that smoke out of the Willamette Valley for the foreseeable future, but we'll keep you posted. Meanwhile, this morning we're starting off with bright sunshine, and the plan for today is just gorgeous. I got temperatures in the low to mid 80s this afternoon with that sunset just before 9 o'clock now. So good looking day, great looking finish to the work week. And as we go into the weekend, brief morning clouds tomorrow, high near 80. Morning clouds are likely to be much more persistent, much more widespread on Sunday and Monday for that matter. So for that reason, we knocked the temperatures down into the 70s both days. Looks like a dry but very comfortable weekend for the third weekend in July. All right, I want to show you this. This is our satellite imagery from NOAA, and the color change that you see there is going from the dark of night to the light of day. You see a couple of things. One, the nooks and crannies in the Coast Range and the marine cloud deck. That's kind of cool to watch that. But the other thing I wanted to point out is all of this creamy color that you see here, basically from south central Oregon, down near Lakeview and Klamath Falls, up towards Baker City, the predominant feature here is wildfire smoke. You can see the fire and the smoke here, plume burning out of Jefferson County. That, of course, is the very large Cram fire, approaching 100,000 acres at last check and growing. And then I mentioned a few minutes ago the fire that popped up on the east side of Mount Hood. There you can see some of that smoke plume, which is now providing a little bit of wildfire smoke and haze in parts of the Columbia River Gorge this morning, and likely will continue to do so as it burns. In fact, you can see it here from the Dalles camera. This is our camera atop Oregon's Veterans Home in the Dalles. Usually Mount Hood is just brilliant there in the distance, but it's hazed out a little bit. So a lot of that is, at this point, wildfire smoke. Good news at this point in the Dalles, the wind has gone calm, but I do expect that breeze to pick up. The Weather Service continues with a red flag warning for high fire danger in this entire magenta shading here. It's basically east central Washington down to east central Oregon as well. And of course, that does include Jefferson County, where the Cram fire is ongoing. Wind gusts will be pretty strong out of the west here late this afternoon, on the order of about 35 to 40 miles an hour in the East Gorge and the Columbia Basin. Temperatures are coming down a little bit from earlier peaks this weekend, but still 90, pretty toasty in the Dalles. As I mentioned, the most prolific smoke across the state from the Cram fire there. This is our smoke model showing that Jefferson County, Wheeler, Crook County, and out towards Baker County will be seeing wildfire smoke throughout the weekend. Today, tomorrow, and really indefinitely. The prevailing wind direction is from west to east. So central Oregon, again, Look for some haze in the eastern sky. Bend about 92, Prineville in the upper 80s. Wildfire smoke prevalent, at least up high in the sky out towards Baker City and Burns. LeGrand gets to about 90 this afternoon. Contrast all that with the cloudy Oregon coast. Just like yesterday, we're waking up to clouds, but those clouds will dissipate, and we should see a pretty nice Friday afternoon with highs in the mid-60s for you folks. And then as we work our way into the Willamette Valley, beautiful shot from our newest live camera in Sherwood from the Chehalem Tasting Room camera. You can see the vineyard down below and blue sky above. Valley forecast today, we dial back the temperatures a few more degrees. Pretty comfortable stuff for late summer or midsummer. 86 in Salem, 86 in Corvallis, and up the I-5 corridor across southwest Washington. Vancouver tops out about 85. I think about the same here in the Rose City, 80, 84, 85 today. Cooler tomorrow, cooler still, as we mentioned, with the cloud cover more prevalent, I think, both Sunday and Monday mornings, but no sign of any major prolonged heat in our 7-day forecast.
And we kept our focus mostly on the West Coast. Let's zoom the lens out and take a check on the national forecast. We're keeping an eye on heavy rain in South Louisiana and portions of the East Coast and more heat in the South. We'll take a look at that right after the break. Stay with us. Well, while many of us out west will feel a break from the high heat, parts of the Mid-South, Southeast have heat alerts in effect. And flood watches are in effect for South Louisiana and portions of West Virginia, and eastern Kentucky. Julie Martin has more.
I'm meteorologist Julie Martin with a quick look at your national forecast. We are watching for some flooding possibly along the Gulf Coast due to some tropical moisture in place. Very hot conditions east of the Mississippi and cool in the Pacific Northwest. Here are those high temperatures for your Friday. You'll notice the deep south into the mid-south staying awfully warm here. 98 in Dallas-Fort Worth, 95 in Jacksonville, Florida and Atlanta. Factor in the humidity, it's going to be quite steamy there all across the south. Nice around the Great Lakes, though. We've got the high 70s there in Grand Rapids and Des Moines. You're looking at 78 degrees. We'll see 90 in Denver. Mild here along the Pacific Northwest, as I mentioned. Still warm in the Sacramento Valley, though, at 94 degrees for your Friday. The watches and warnings you see here in orange, those are those heat advisories, and we have plenty of them. Also in the Mid-Atlantic, stretching from Hartford down through D.C., Norfolk into Charlotte, and then the Mid-South, Memphis, Little Rock, Huntsville, also under some excessive heat advisories. That moisture I mentioned, well, it was expected to possibly form into something tropical. Doesn't really matter though, because it is just going to be producing lots of rain either way, and that is what we're going to be seeing here over the next couple of days. Likely in through Saturday. Now, the bulk of it probably tomorrow or on Friday, but on Saturday, we see more moisture coming back in sort of over those same exact areas. We're talking about New Orleans, Baton Rouge, Mississippi also going to be in play for a lot of that rain. So watch out for the flooding there. In fact, here are our flood risks for Friday. It does include New Orleans there and much of the Gulf Coast. So watching for that. Severe weather, we're watching for a relatively low level 1 out of 5 for places like Washington, D.C., down into North Carolina. Also in the plains from Nebraska over toward Iowa and Minneapolis, looking at maybe a few isolated strong storms developing. Okay, here are those forecast highs. We'll start in the west. We've got the 70s in Seattle, warm in Spokane, 90s for you on Friday. And then Boise looks like you're in for a hot one too as we head through the weekend. Portland, you'll stay nice and mild. Heading farther south into the desert southwest, the heat is on in Phoenix with those triple digits. Denver, you're going to be in the 90s. And then 90s all across the Lone Star State, going to be very hot and humid there from Dallas-Fort Worth to Austin to Houston. Deep South also looking very hot, and the Mid-South. Little Rock, Atlanta are going to be in the mid-90s. That goes for you there in Tampa and in New Orleans, topping out around 90 on Saturday. Here in the Midwest, St. Louis, you're going to be warming up to around 95 on Sunday. Louisville, you'll be at 90 by the end of the weekend, and Charlotte, you'll stay awfully hot with those mid-90s. Nice around the Great Lakes, as I mentioned, 70s and 80s for all of you from Minneapolis to Grand Rapids. And then heading into the Northeast, New England looking very nice there in Portland. A little bit cooler on Sunday, temperatures around 74, but very hot in the Mid-Atlantic with those feels like temperatures well into the 90s.
And next, we'll take a look at how warming ocean temperatures are impacting some fish species and check out the premier meteor shower of the summer. Welcome back, and thanks for sticking with us. With summer in full swing and all this talk of high temperatures impacting humans, it's easy to forget how it affects wildlife, especially in the ocean. Our friends in San Diego explain how clownfish are adapting to warmer oceans.
The famous clownfish, made popular by the hit animated movie Finding Nemo, is finding a new way to respond to warming ocean water. Researchers say it's by shrinking in both size and in weight as a response to the warmer water.
This is something that was really surprising because most vertebrates go in one direction with their growth. They might stop growing at some point in their life, but they don't usually go backwards. There are some other vertebrates that we know this from, but it's still very rare.
The study tracked over 100 clownfish as the ocean warmed and found that as temperatures rose, the fish would shrink, increasing their chance for survival, as smaller fish need less food to use as energy and even less oxygen to survive.
Those smaller individuals are more efficient at foraging or at eating. So being small helps because you need less energy, and you can keep your condition. So you don't just lose weight and lose your condition, lose your swimming ability, and you still need the same amount of food to maintain yourself. But if you're getting smaller, then that means you need less food to maintain yourself.
The study points to more and more species being forced to cope with climate change. One lizard species, for example, has been found to move to higher elevations year over year to survive a warming planet.
This is what the future is going to look like. This is climate-related extinction.
The survival is higher in those fish that do shrink and that are very flexible in changing their size.
Other animals have been seen adjusting the time of key events, such as breeding and migration, due to climate change. Researchers plan to continue investigating whether this shrinking can be applied to other species of fish in the ocean. I'm Evan Irani, CBS 8.